Oh, hello there, boys and girls. So, this is Kids Bible Club Week 1 as a video. A little bit different to usual, but just like how we normally run Kids Bible Club, we're going to be singing a song, one that you all know really well, which is My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. Once we've sang our song, we're going to be hearing a story, just like we always do. Now this time we're going to be hearing the story of Easter. This is going to be the first half of the story of Easter. So make sure you tune in next week to hear the second half of the story of Easter as well. But for now, let's get up off our feet, let's do some actions, and let's sing My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. Let's go. Okay, let's get ready. Up off our feet. Let's hear the words and see the actions. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do for you. The rivers are his, the mountains are his, the stars are his handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do for you. Well done, that's brilliant. Okay, let's just hear the girls this time. Okay, just the girls, let's go.
My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing that he cannot do.
Just the boys, ready? The rivers are his, the mountains are his, the stars are his handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. Well done. Let's have everyone back together again. One last time. Let's go. And my God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do for you. The rivers are his, the mountains are his, the stars are his handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that he cannot do. Well done, brilliant. Big clap, boys and girls. Fantastic. Okay, well done. Okay, so that's our song over. Now we're going to be hearing a story, the story of Easter. So let's gather round, listen in, and let's hear the story of Easter. Let's go. Okay, so the story of Easter, part 1. Here's how it begins. What? What's this? I didn't know that was there. I think I'm just testing to see how strong that table is. Anyway, moving on quickly. Right, the story of Easter, part 1. Here's how it really begins. Okay, so the story of Easter. Jesus had been healing many sick people and feeding hungry people. He loved outcasts and he taught everybody about God's kingdom. But the religious leaders did not like his teaching one bit. They hated Jesus. They were jealous of him. They did not like the fact that more people were following Jesus than following them. They hated him so much that actually they wanted him killed. And they gave 30 pieces of silver to Judas. Now, Judas was one of the 12 followers of Jesus, one of the 12 disciples. But you see, Judas had turned his back on Jesus and he wanted to hand Jesus over to them to have Jesus killed. Now, sometime later, Jesus and his disciples were celebrating the Passover meal. Now, as they were eating, Jesus said to his disciples, "One of you are going to betray me." Surprised, each one said, "Surely it's not me, Lord." But Jesus knew all about Judas's evil plans. "It is true," Jesus said. "One of you, eating here, will betray me." "Not me, Lord," said Judas. "You know it is," Jesus said. "Go, do it quickly." So Judas left. Now, back in the Passover room, Jesus prayed and thanked God for the bread, and he broke it and he gave it to his disciples, and he said to them, "Remember me whenever you eat this. Remember my body, which will be broken for you." Then he picked up a cup and he thanked God for it, and he said to them, "Everyone drinking from this cup, remember my blood, which will be poured out for you, so that your sins may be forgiven." You see, Jesus knew all about his death, and he was not going to stop it from happening. You see, this was all part of God's plan for us. So, whenever they had finished eating, Jesus and his disciples sang a song together, and they walked out to the garden nearby called the Garden of Gethsemane. They went there to pray. Now, on the way there, Jesus said to his disciples, "You are all going to abandon me tonight. Now, you're all going to leave me." Now, the disciples said to themselves, "No, surely not us." And Peter said, "No, it's not going to be me. I will never leave you, Jesus." Jesus sighed and said to Peter, "Before the rooster crows, you are going to deny you even know me 3 times. Peter said, "No, I would die before I do that." Well, Peter, James and John went with Jesus up into the Garden of Gethsemane, and he asked them to pray with him. But they fell asleep. They were tired. And Jesus prayed alone to the Father. What? Oh dear, what's this? Looks like it wasn't only the disciples that were sleeping. Well, we'll ignore that and move on quickly. Don't know how that got there. Anyway, back to the story. Jesus was in the garden and he was praying. And he was praying to God the Father. And he was saying, "God, this is not what I want. I do not want to have to be killed and crucified and murdered. But if there's any other way, let it be. But let your will be done." In other words, God, the Father's plan came first. And Jesus knew that his plan was what really mattered. Now suddenly, there was a great light, lots of shouting, and there was an angry crowd approaching Jesus with the religious leaders, and Judas, walking in front, walked up to Jesus and kissed him to show the crowd which man to arrest. And Jesus said, "I am the one you're looking for." What? Now whenever he said this, they all drew back and fell to the ground. Could it be that Jesus would actually just tell them that he is the one they're looking for? Well, then they grabbed Jesus and they took him to the religious leaders. Jesus, he could have ran away. He could have stopped them from capturing him. He could have even sent a legion of angels down to just destroy them all. But that was not part of Jesus' plan. That was not part of God's plan. He knew that dying on the cross is what he was come to do. Now, most of Jesus' disciples fled, just like Jesus had said. But Peter followed behind slowly, and he waited in the courtyard to see what would happen. "Weren't you with Jesus?" someone asked. Frightened, Peter said, "No, not me. I don't know what you're talking about." 2 more people said to Peter, "You're wrong, you were with Jesus." And Peter says, "I don't even know who you're talking about. In fact, I don't even know who Jesus is." 3 times Peter denied knowing Jesus, just like Jesus had said. Then he heard the rooster crow and he wept. He cried bitterly. He realised what he had done. Now the religious leaders were telling Pilate that Jesus is dangerous and that he claims to be king. Now Pilate, the Roman governor, asked Jesus, "Are you king?" And Jesus said, "Yes, I am king, but not of this world." Pilate, a bit confused, but he knew that Jesus was innocent, and he said to the crowds, "This man is innocent. I'm going to set him free." But the crowd said, "No, kill him." And so Pilate had his soldiers whip Jesus and forced a crown of thorns onto his head, and they laid a big wooden cross on his whipped back and led him up a hill. There, on that hill, the Roman soldiers nailed Jesus to the cross, hands and feet, and raised it up high. And Jesus hung there between 2 criminals. Now, around noon, the sky turned dark. Jesus' friends wept. The religious leaders were laughing and saying, "This man saved other people. Couldn't he save himself?" Now, Jesus prayed to the Father and said, "Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing." When the time came for Jesus to die, he closed his eyes and he said, "It is finished." Now, he had completed what he had come to do because of his great love for us. One of Jesus' followers, a man named Joseph, put Jesus' body in a brand new tomb, and he rolled a huge stone over the front of the tomb. The long, sad Friday was over. But it's not the end of the story. You see, next week, we're going to hear what happens next, because Jesus did not stay dead. In fact, 3 days later, he comes back to life. And this amazing story is so incredible because Jesus actually came to die for you and for me. You see, his death was for us because Jesus had done nothing wrong. He was perfect. But you and I, We are all sinners. We have all done something wrong against God. We have all turned our back to God. But God has punished Jesus, his son, instead of us, so that if we trust in him, we can be forgiven. And next week we're going to hear the incredible story of Jesus coming back to life. But until then, I'll see you next week. And I'm pretty tired and I've got my little bunny with me, my Easter bunny. So I'm going to go back to sleep now. But until next week, see you then. Bye, boys and girls. Bye.
Bye.